Do I need to check in with you yet, or you want to wait a little
Yeah,
bit?
I was just going to show you.
Okay.
So I cut out the squares, and now I have glued the 2 layers together.
Oh, so cool. You did that fast.
Well, I had already made the grid.
I know, but you're gluing, it looks precise, and I'm impressed.
I have the hottest glue gun in the world.
Oh, so you use hot glue on paper?
Yeah.
Girl, that's hardcore.
I know. It steamed a little. You didn't catch it, but it steamed a little.
Oh, it almost made a hole? Why did you choose that over Elmer's?
Because I'm not waiting around for that shit to dry.
That's true. Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of that. Okay.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of crafting shows where they'll do the glue and then they go ahead and do the hot glue gun around the outside edge or whatever that they're gluing together so that the glue can dry on the inside. And then they have the bead of hot glue just to keep it together so they can keep moving.
Okay, so you just helped me out. You just helped me out with my craft because I was torn between hot glue and Elmer's for one of my steps.
You can put that glue in there, run a bead around it, and stick it on there. And
I might do that.
Dry in the meantime, but you got your hot glue to keep it together.
I love it.
So now I got my box.
That's for the impatient artists. I don't like to wait.
I have no time.
I don't got time for that.
I made a little lid. So it was just one of the squares cut out a little bit bigger, and then I made a rim and I folded it down.
Okay. Is there like a little lip to keep them like each little fold together, or?
Yeah, there was inside. You cut just the little corner.
Yeah.
Kind of like you're doing these corners, but you only cut one side and tuck it in.
Okay. That's what I imagined. Okay. Yeah. Man, you're gonna be done before my story's over.
Yeah, I mean you can do
moving fast.
You can decorate anything that you want. See, I've got 2 layers here.
Yeah.
So when it pops open, I mean, you could actually take the time to decorate each individual layer. Like I'll probably go on to like one of the free graphic sites and do some like old Valentine's Day card and print and then put it in there. Like if you can see it on like this one, it's got the border and then it's got the little inside. You can do the same. You can do something like that. And you can do it actually on both levels if you don't. Like I could do one on this side and I could do one on this side.
It's so cute.
I ain't got time for that other stuff. I got to keep working.
Okay, good. You got lots to play with. That's good. All right. So I'm going to assume you probably heard this one before, but it's the San Francisco Witch Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't like them, but this is a good story.
Yeah. I'm going to try and figure out how to like add in something different than what's already been told, but maybe you can chime in every time too. So that will help.
If I know anything weird, I'll let you know.
Yes. So, first of all, did you know that there's a word for shared madness? Did you know that?
I did. I just looked this up.
Oh.
I started like trying to find a story on.
It probably came up in your search.
Yeah. And there was another podcast that did sisters. They were talking about sisters.
Oh, twins?
No.
Oh. Still, wow. Okay, so the word is, I'm going to try and remember it. I took French in high school. Folie à Dieu.
Folie à Dieu.
Folie à Dieu. And it means it's clinically shared psychotic disorder. It's a rare delusional disorder shared by 2 or sometimes more people with unusually close emotional ties. The delusions are usually induced in the passive partner, and in this case, his name is originally James, but we're gonna call him Michael, and the active one Susan with a Z. So if you remember, his name is James Carson, and he becomes Michael Bear or Michael Bear Carson, and Susan Carson or Susan Bear. She changed. The only thing she changes is the Z in her name because she's so cool. Not really. Yeah. So Michael's born in 1950. Susan's born in 1941. She's a little older. So she's 39. He's 30 when they get together. So I kind of looked into their background a little bit. She comes from a wealthy family, but she struggled with mental distress. She had visions and voices from a very early age, and this made her think she was psychic. And she probably had schizophrenia. She came to believe that her mission was to bring about war and to root out all the world's evildoers. Yes. So,
just so you know, if I ever get delusional, I'm going for a pirate.
You're going to be a pirate?
I'm going to be a pirate.
Okay. So
I'm putting it in now. I'm going to sail. I'm going to sit on the end of my bed and sail.
Oh.
I'm going to be a pirate.
So you might actually believe that you are one? That's how bad it's going to be? Okay.
And I'm going to steal your stuff and hide it in my closet. I already have it planned. I figure if I plan it out, then when it starts happening, my mind has the plan in the background.
See, okay, that scares me because sometimes I mess around with myself and I'll like do voices and like later that becomes my default voice, and I was trying to be just funny, but now I'm really dorky, you know, like I have to be careful when I mess with my mind like that. and pirates, my son likes to play pirates every day he steals from me and I have to steal back from him, so you're right on target with the 3-year-olds.
Yes, make your plan now though for when Alzheimer's hit. You already have
Okay, what are you going to be? Oh, I want to be a diva.
I want to ready.
Yeah. And everybody just has to accept me. I'm wearing glittery things. My hair's going to be colorful. Awesome. Okay. I saw a lady that she just turned 90. Her goal was, she told her family, if I turn 90, I'm going to give myself a mohawk. So she turned 90 and she went with the mohawk.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and her family supports it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Suzanne, she actually worried about herself. She thought instead of this angelic warrior that she thinks she is, she actually was paranoid that she might actually be a witch. So when I found that out, she goes this entire journey pointing out who she thinks witches are. Meantime, at the same time, it's really her own internal struggle as she's like, I might be a witch.
Oh, like, did she test herself?
Did she test it?
Like, did she throw herself in the water to see if she floated? Or?
She didn't do that. No.
No. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you test yourself.
I think she was probably, I'm going to imagine that she was too scared to do that test because she was afraid it might work.
Okay.
So, and then his background is he eventually, when he gets a little bit older, he joins the Flower Power demo against war. And so he's constantly searching for some sort of belonging, and political activism is like a vital part of his personality. And he actually, at one point, he realized that politics were growing way too violent. And this is when he lost faith in that movement because the JFK assassination. Mm-hmm. So that had a big effect on him. In fact, he went ahead and he took mescaline. So many of these stories happen because of drugs. Why can't we just listen to people? Don't do drugs.
This is why I play these for my son, though, because he's 13. And I'm like, this is what happens if you do drugs.
You play our videos for him?
Some videos. Should
I stop swearing right now? Because...
No, I'm teaching my son or saying shit.
It's fine. I had my behind me showing the cabinets or whatever. What do you have right there? What's that called? The shelves. I had my shelves showing, and there were like 5 things that had swear words on them. But yeah, that's why the curtain's up.
Oh.
So anyways, Michael takes mescaline and he starts to imagine the sky and the buildings and they're pulsing around him. And while he's in this drug-induced haze, he staggers onto a church, like outside of a church, and he has this religious vision. So this is where, like, it completely changed him. Now he's on a search for religious belonging and a cause that he can follow. He found God. So that happened to him, but then he got married in college with a woman named, I think her name is Lynn. Yeah. She's working as a teacher after college, and they have a kid shortly after the birth, though, and their child's name is Jen. Shortly after that, he's starting to change. They notice that he's like really depressed. He gets irritated easily. At some points during their arguments, he does start to hit his wife. And basically this marriage lasted a few years, and Lynn, the wife, decided it was the last straw when they had this big fight and a piece of like something glass broke in the kitchen floor and the baby Jen was crawling across it and she got cut. So Mama Lynn was like, we're done. I'm out. Yeah. She picks up her little girl, they leave, and she doesn't want anything to do with him except that there is some time as Jen is growing up that she does see her father. And there's interviews with Jen talking about how crazy Suzanne and Michael are. She actually witnessed it as a kid. So we'll get into that a little bit. But basically now he's alone and now he's searching for someone to lead him. And now he's partying even harder than before. So he's in they're in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he's in the same party scene that he meets this lady, Suzanne. And she's 36 at the time. They meet in Thanksgiving 1977. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the story. Okay, so I think she has a party. She's hosting these really wild parties. She experiments with acid for the first time in her life that night, and she locks eyes with him across the room. And she said that she felt a tingle with her entire body when she sees him. And so she walks over to him and she tells him, he's like, my name's James. She's like, no, it's Michael, like the archangel. And he's like, okay, that's my name. We're cool. And then they decide to party back at her house. So this is the part. So the podcast I was listening to, they're like, in her unkempt living room. Like, how do you know? She lived a messy life. She was in her unkempt living room.
There's like pizza boxes laying around.
Yeah. Suzanne puts on the Grateful Dead record, and she dances for Michael in a way that felt mystical to them both. This is what I love. I'm just thinking, like, what moves?
No one would ever describe my dancing as mystical. So I'm good for her.
That is like that. If somebody described me and that's how I affect them when I dance, I'm good. I could die because that's what I want. That's what I want. So, and I'm just trying to think, like, what moves did she use? Like, what do you think?
There's nothing that I know. Because trust me, it's never happened. My dancing.
Well, she's definitely gyrating her hips. Let's be honest. That's probably all he sees.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
They're both on acid.
It's like that. Whenever they describe acid, and it's like that slow. Blur,
yeah.
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 Oh. I need to
no wonder.
Acid when I'm dancing.
That's what make other people do it. That's what. Okay, so she swayed sensuously near him. Suzanne whispers that she had wandered into the astral plane for thousands of years waiting for her soulmate. So she's saying, you're my soulmate. They spent the night together and they didn't spend a day apart since, kind of. So their relationship is fueled by hallucinogenic drugs. And
like every good relationship.
A strong emerging religious certainty of sorts. So the two of them
with desserts.
That's what's going to connect you.
Yeah.
Oh, food.
Yeah, I'm going with food. Yeah.
Okay. So the two of them offered each other exactly what each other needed. She needed somebody to lead around, and he needed somebody to tell him what to do. So they both felt validated. And she has her lifelong vision. She thought she was divine, which I'm like, that's fine. Every girl should feel that powerful. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. But she needed help. Oh, and I didn't say this before this, but she was married. She had kids. And do you remember that when you learned about the story?
No, I remember that he had been married and had a kid. Yeah.
She had boys at least, and she would also like make out with maybe more with her boys' friends.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a number, 150 men plus young men. And I'm like, did she ever get in trouble for that, or they just ignored it back then because it was a woman? I don't know.
She's got them gyrating hips. She's like,
you can't control yourself.
Yeah.
That's messed up, lady. She shouldn't have done that. So, anyways, she's divorced too. They're both divorcees, so they kind of like, they're the perfect. Oh, the daughter describes them as the match. Gasoline and a match. That's that's how they were. Okay, so yeah. So they start traveling around. They go to London. They get married like in their hotel room, but it's not official. It's very hippy dippy. They change their surname to Bear because that's Michael's favorite animal as a child, Which you gotta love the 70s free spirit. Like, let me just change my last name to my favorite animal. Like,
my name's Treasure. I got no room to talk.
Yeah, you're right. Look at you, hippie girl.
I know.
So, yeah. So, okay. So while they're there, she's like, these are my goals. I want to have a kid. I want to take over the world. And like, I want followers. I want to like start a revolution. And so she gets pregnant, but while they're there, she miscarries. So she feels like because there's so much like bad energy in London, there's a bunch of witches around, that it's their fault, and now everybody's gonna pay.
Okay.
Yeah, because she lost a baby.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we all deal with, grief differently. So
does she still think she's a witch at this time?
She does struggle with that her entire life. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he keeps convincing her, like, no, there's no way. If she brings it up, there's no way. You're supposed to be the one that kills all the witches, whatever. Okay. So anybody that basically offends her or inconveniences her, she calls them a witch, and like the goal is to just off them. So now they head back to the United States.
Okay.
They become self-proclaimed machines or hash smoking assassins.
Okay.
Hashassins? I forget what it's called, but it's, yeah.
Did you just make that word up?
I did, I think. I don't know. It's a very, like, this is what my mom had always done growing up. She would just say something when we needed an answer, and we're like, is that true? And she's like, I don't know, I just made it up. But it's true that there's a technique with assassins that would smoke hashish and then go kill people. And that's what they called themselves.
Oh.
So they're like all about their god is Allah, except that this is a very perverted version of Islam to them. It's whatever they decide it is. It's not the actual religion in any way. Now they're these modern witch hunters, they've decided. In 1980, they moved to San Francisco, which is why they have that name. They're called the San Francisco Witch Hunters, but really they travel all over the place. They just keep ending up back in California. Okay. So they go to a party. As soon as they walk in, Suzanne can feel that everyone there is a freaking witch. Every single time. This is like...
She didn't know before she went?
She was feeling it in the streets. She sees the beggars. She sees the sex workers. She's like, this is bad. This is bad. Then they go to the party, and it's like, the door opens and the wind blows, and she's like, witches! Like, yeah, like this. She's over the top all the time. So nobody at the party likes them, except that this one lady is drawn to them. Her name is Karen Barnes. And she's an aspiring actress, artist, everything. She's really cool, really free-spirited. And it says in one of my descriptions that she was doing a beguiling dance. So I guess they're suckers for hips. Hips don't lie.
Yeah.
So the two of them, Suzanne and both Michael, were like, we got to get to know this chick. I didn't really find anywhere that they like wanted a throuple, but maybe that was what was hinted at, except that, well, I'll get to the except part in just a moment, but Karen is like really drawn by them. They're like talking about witch stuff, and she's like, that's so interesting, Meantime, they're all on drugs. When you're when you're on drugs, everything is interesting.
The best story I've ever heard.
You're so cool. Suzanne tells her that she's clairvoyant, and Karen's like, me too, girl. They both can see, both have psychic gifts. So they get to talking, and Karen invites them to live in her like basement apartment.
Okay.
So while they're like, this is freaking awesome, we get to like teach her, she's going to be another member in our cult. And she's on board with it. She's learning every day. In fact, they tell her, it's right during like the Reagan presidency, and they say to her that there's a new evil, and it's Ronald Reagan. She says, I know, because his name adds up to 666 if you break it up, the letters.
Oh my God, that's math.
His first, middle, and last, I don't know, so 666.
I'm going to go with they did the math.
They did.
I don't know why I'm trusting that they did the math, actually.
Yeah. They have, yeah, I'll get to that. For
the sake of today, we're going with they did the math.
We'll believe it. So Suzanne felt this is where she starts to get irritated because Karen's acting like she knows stuff and Suzanne's supposed to be the one who's teaching her. So she didn't like that little fact she gave her about the 666. She's like, you're getting a little too cocky, Grasshopper. So yeah, she didn't like that. So, and she thinks that Karen and Michael are flirting.
So they weren't trying to be a couple then, a throuple.
That's why I'm like, well, or maybe they were. She thought she could handle it, and then she realized that she was way too jealous. Who knows?
Okay.
So Suzanne felt this growing suspicion that Karen was actually a witch. So she informs this information. She gives this information to Michael, and not only is she a witch, she's the most powerful witch in San Francisco. So you know what you have to do, Michael, is what she says. And February 1981, after Karen's 23rd birthday, she's so young, the couple confronts her in the kitchen. They have this fight. They call her a witch. She's like, no, I'm not. And then they pick up a frying pan. Michael bashes her in the head. They bludgeon her, and then they stab her.
Oh.
Yeah, over and over.
Oh, good.
So they take off. They're like, we got to get out of here. They take off on foot. They start hitchhiking. At this point, officially, Michael's first wife completely cuts off all ties. I guess, in between, especially when she was in that Scottsdale home, Suzanne. Jennifer, the little girl, would have visits with her father, and she describes it as she would walk into their living room and it looked like a forest. And so she thought, as a kid, she made that up, but she talked to a detective later in life, and the detective was like, no, for sure. The walls were black, painted black, and there was no furniture. There was no furniture, but there were potted plants everywhere. So it was just this bizarre, house, And at one point, Suzanne did harm Jennifer. She had, asked her to, scratch her back or something, like Jennifer did or whatever. And Suzanne, she goes home to her mom, and she's like, my back hurts, and they can see that she had scrapes, 5 scrapes in her back, evil, yeah. That's just disgusting. So basically now they've completely cut off ties, and Jennifer and her mom are scared for their lives because they keep receiving letters from them. And it's sounding like they're getting more and more dangerous. And even though his ex-wife Lynn is telling the police, I think they're going to do something really terrible, maybe kill people, the police write it off as just a jealous ex-wife. They don't listen.
Jealous.
You're just jealous.
You're just a woman. What do you know? Oh
my God. How often do we hear that?
Right.
That
You're
stuff
just
gets dismissed. Yeah.
Being hysterical.
Is that called gaslighting?
I think when what they're saying back to you is gaslighting. Yeah, you're just overreacting.
You're just that. Yeah,
and you imagined it.
They do fear that their plan is to kidnap Jennifer because they did try to get her a passport at some point. So that never happened. So she doesn't have anything more happen to her like that. So they do find, this is where you were telling your story earlier, and I think this is you're gonna have, maybe this might trigger you, so I'm gonna trigger warning. Okay. So they find a house in the woods in Oregon, and they just go in. They just live there for a while. Squat it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So while they're there, they're ingesting a decent amount of marijuana and hallucinogenic drugs, and Michael is working on this plan to assassinate President Reagan, and they're there for so long, they run out of money, they run out of food and weed. And so he decides he has to go to Los Angeles to get all this stuff, to get more supplies. And they're a little worried because she's going to be there without food. She says, this is my God-given, I have to do this. I'm going to starve in order to cleanse my body type thing. So while he's in Los Angeles, he forgets what he went there for. And he doesn't buy what he's supposed to get. Instead, he buys paper and markers, which I can't blame him, because if I see a good set of markers,
oh my God,
I'm getting those
without going in, right?
Gel pens, girl, get me those. Put them in the basket. So
I'm one of those weirdos that has the big canvas scrolls walking through.
And you forgot to buy food. Yeah, that's what this guy did. Okay, so
I get it.
I get it. He makes these signs that are talking about like the world of the evils and Ronald Reagan, and he starts to post them in these tourist areas. So his mission is completely derailed, and he thinks he's supposed to be like spreading the word. And then he remembers, days go by, and he remembers his wife is at home starving. He better get back.
What did I forget?
What was I supposed to get? So he what he does to get food, since he's already spent his money on the markers and the poster board, he goes through garbage bins and he gets scraps and he gathers that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. By the time he gets back, he sees her. She's starving. She's hallucinating. She's already somebody that struggles like that, and now she doesn't have food. You know, if you don't eat, you get...
I told you I started the diet yesterday, and it's only like a day and a half, and I'm like, yeah, no. If you asked me trivia questions right now, I would barely know my name.
Okay. Then I won't drill you then. Her visions had gotten stronger. She eats. She's a little bit better. Okay, so now they're like, you know what? If we're supposed to leave this house that isn't ours, I'm going to wait for a sign. And then all of a sudden, like, the park ranger knocks on the door. He's like, you guys got to get out. You can't be here. She's like, that's the sign.
I'm just going to point out that Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a good thing for him. So did she not gain religious clarity at all?
Well, I mean, every time she goes through...
Like, was her she had an expectation, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So did she gain whatever she was supposed to do?
Okay, when she was there, it wasn't good for her. She shouldn't have done that. Okay. In fact, what she sees are ghosts and witches tormenting her, and they tell her that the devil himself has arrived to possess her. Okay. So it actually makes her feel more like a witch. It backfired, the plan. 1981 is when, you know, they're like, okay, fine. Park ranger says we gotta go. Sorry about that, dude. Peace. Then they leave. Assassination targets. What? Why would I highlight half of a sentence? That makes no sense. All right. So they have this assassination.
The inflection on this part.
Yeah, but it's like not a full sentence. I'm like, what did you mean by this? So I don't know. So they have this assassination list that they have written up, and they have it on the person. So it says, who's on that list? British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, Pope John Paul, the second late night host Johnny Carson, and of course President Ronald Reagan.
Why?
So so the only thing I could see with like their list, you know how Ronald Reagan has 666? Apparently Johnny Carson and his full name is a 666, but the other ones I don't think that matches. So I don't know. They're basically people who their beliefs go against their religion.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Or if you give her a bad look, then you're on the list.
Okay.
They get to another section of California. It's called Big Sur. And they stay in this guy's backyard. He's got like woods behind him, and he's got people living in tents and tree houses. So he's kind of this cool dude. He's like, you know what? You can stay in my tree house.
Perfect.
So yeah, so they live there for a little while, but of course everybody there like doesn't like them. They get irritated with people easily, and so people don't like their vibe. Why? Like, how do they stay there for free? Yeah, I guess they did.
I thought they were pot farmers. I thought it ended up being like a pot.
Not yet. They stay in those woods, and they take everybody off, and they just start setting fire to his cabin. This guy's name's Patrick. They set fire to his cabin and all the tents, and that's where they steal a gun. They were able to steal a gun, and they make some homemade bombs. Whatever. Okay. Now they hitchhike to Humboldt in 1982, and that's where they work on a cannabis farm. Again, everybody's like weirded out by them, but they're like, whatever, it's a job, we'll deal with it. You know how you do when you deal with your coworkers. You're just like, Whatever, just deal with it.
I'm not taking it home with me. I'm leaving it here.
Yeah. It's drama. Okay, so then comes along 26-year-old Clark Stevens, he is a friend of the farm owner, and they like butt heads right away. He ends up one day actually insulting Suzanne, and she tells Michael about it, like, because I guess he wasn't there. She tells him about it, and she's like, you know what you have to do. So they lure him into a part of the farm where no one's around, and they shoot him, and then they light his body on fire, kerosene and a match, and then they cover him up with fertilizer. They take off. They're like done with that place. They know they have to leave, but he gets reported missing, and they don't find him for a while until
dun dun dun.
So they're on the run again. They fall asleep in the woods, and this is just this weird coincidence. There's these people on search for a missing hitchhiker, or a missing hiker. So as soon as they hear people in the woods, they're freaking out, which I think I need to paint a little bit of a picture. Over time, Suzanne had created her own line of clothing.
No.
Yeah, she sewed together rags. So they're starting to look really crazy. They're like, I
want the t-shirt.
What?
I want the t-shirt.
Maybe she was going to be a trendsetter if she had really went the right route. Yeah. So she's wearing rags. Their hair's probably all messed up because they're sleeping in twigs, and they're all whacked out from whatever drugs they're on. And they hear like dogs and people searching, and they bolt up, and they're like, oh crap. So they take off. Somewhere in the news things that I read, Suzanne actually runs into a tree like a cartoon and falls backwards, and they split up. They run in two different directions, but they also have this genius idea to not take their bags with them. And so even though the police were looking for something totally different, they find these bags, and in the bags they see bullets, they see a list of people they want to kill, which is like, can you just imagine this like blatant list of like assassination list, and it's like 1 through 10, and then he signs it, his name, Michael Bear.
Can you imagine if you're the cop that found it that day, and you're like looking through, and you're like, I don't want to stay here. I want to go home.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I just took it back in. Somebody else.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with this. That's a funny thought. Yeah, they found his manifesto as well. Stolen ID. So the stolen ID is this other name, Richard Arata, which, okay, so.
Oh, so he's Dick Arata?
Arata? Oh, shit. All right. Well, it's a stolen ID, so someone out there has that name.
Well,
mm-hmm.
It's definitely stolen.
let me use my psychic Ouija board, psychic sex board to find Dick Arata.
Right.
Okay, so back on the farm, a dog discovers Clark's remains. He's like playing with what they think is like a ball, and they realize it's a skull.
Oh.
Yeah, he's probably so proud. He's like, look what I found. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So they're starting to hear Michael's name come up. They discover him on the side of the road. They take him to the police station. They put him in a lineup. For some reason, the papers get mixed up, and now he's in this lineup for like a rape victim. And the rape victim does not name him. She's like, that's not him. He gets let go for... He gets off. It was just so stupid. So, what happens is after they like give him a ride back or whatever, they discover that there was a gun in the seat. Like it was on him, but he had stuffed it into the seat. Oh. And now they're like, oh, and somebody else, another department is like, where's our guy? We're looking for this guy. And they realize they let go the wrong guy. So now they are on the hunt for him. And there's like a big bulletin out saying we need to find this guy. So okay. That's where we'll pause on that part of the story.
So I just wanted to show you. So I decorated the inside.
Oh, wow. You are so fast.
Well, I practiced.
That's true.
And then for the top, I have my little confetti that I made. And then I took a little sheet of tissue paper, doubled it up, and I hot glued a string to it.
Oh, you have to do that?
Well, you gotta, because it has to have tension to pull so that the confetti will fall out.
Okay.
And this is where I got a little stuck when I was trying to teach myself how to do it and why I had to practice. You have to very, 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 very slightly tape in your tissue paper.
Okay.
Because if you tape, if it's stuck in there too much, it's not going to come out. And I actually had a couple times where like it was so stuck the paper ripped. And I actually tried to make so then I was like, well, maybe I'll make a little pouch out of the tissue paper, and then you pull in the paper rips. No, it pulled the inside of my thing out.
Oh no! So it's a very delicate dance.
Very gentle, and I only do it on 2 sides.
Okay.
So play with it a little bit if you're going to make it, because it's a very slight tape.
What if you like put your fingerprint on the tape a whole bunch of times and really weaken its adhesive?
That's probably what ended up happening, because I did it like 50 times last night. So that's genuinely probably what happened to the tape. And then because this is doubled, what I did was I took the end and taped it into the back.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
But you don't know if it's always going to work.
You don't.
So it's like if they open it and you're like, oh no, give it back, I gotta fix it. This is what's supposed to happen. And you're like, you're not acting surprised. It's like,
yeah, well, I'll just throw it at them then.
Yeah.
I have some in my pocket. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the effect.
Very cute. Wow. There's a lot that goes into that. All right. So they've already killed 2 people, and
keep in count. Body counts too.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they go up to Colorado. They spend time with a friend. They end up stealing that guy's gun, so they get their hands on another gun, and then they come back to California. So now we're on to the final victim. They are hitchhiking, and they see this guy. His name is John Hellier, and Suzanne whispers. He's 30 years old. Suzanne whispers to Michael, like, immediately. She's like, yep, he's a witch. You know what you gotta do. She's like, I'll give you a signal, like, when it's time. So,
I'll give you a signal.
Yeah. What is her signal? This guy. Wow. Not very subtle, Suzanne. So they're like annoyed by him right away. They start berating him. They're like, we don't like your music. What are you doing? You know, this guy's just trying to like give them a ride. Okay. He's going on this long road trip, and he probably sees this couple like, cool, like I won't be totally alone, you know. So it doesn't take long. His leg accidentally touches Suzanne's, and that's when Suzanne gave Michael the signal, like, we got to do it. So Michael pulls out a gun while they're in the car. They begin to fight. He pulls over off the freeway, and right across the street on the other side of the freeway is a fruit stand. So there's people there, kids even, and they're witnessing this fight that's starting to happen. They're getting out of the car. This guy's trying so hard to get away from them. And then Suzanne, surprise, pulls out a knife, and then she gets him. She starts stabbing him over and over, and Michael shoots him for good measure, you know, make sure he's totally dead. So they've done this in front of all these witnesses, and the police get called. So police are chasing them because they jump in the truck and take off, like as if like they think they're gonna get away. So ridiculous. They're driving away in the stolen truck. Police catch up to them, and what happens is after that they tell the police that they're really disappointed that they didn't get more media coverage, and they're going to admit to some of the murders or the murders if they get a press conference. So they agree, because they're like, cool, let's get you to confess, and you know, whatever. So they do this press conference that lasts 6 hours. People are like falling asleep. It's so boring because all they're talking about is their stupid manifesto, and you know, they're trying to like spread their word or whatever. They do plead guilty to Karen Barnes, but there's a trial in June 1984, and they claim self-defense in front of the jury.
Okay.
And the jury says they're guilty, and so they end up getting like three different sentences for each person, and the sentences are like, it's like 25 years to life for one, 50 years to life for another, and 75 for the third. They both get the same sentence, and neither of them show remorse. Anytime they're ever interviewed or talked to, they only talk about their stupid witch killing, like, you know, goals and stuff. And there was a point where Michael was up for possible parole. Like, it comes up, it probably wasn't going to get it, but his daughter spoke out, and she's like, I'm the daughter of this guy, and I don't want him out. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and she actually, her stories, she turned it into a positive one. She goes around, she's a public speaker for mental health awareness and suicide prevention because of what she was affected by. And so she's made it a positive thing in her life.
Good. Yeah. Put a spin on it. Yay. Good for her. Because you could really go dark otherwise.
Yeah. So they're still alive. Isn't that crazy? Like, sometimes I hear these stories and I think, like, oh, they're probably not. They're in jail still, you know? Oh,
God, they're still alive.
I think so.
That feels weird.
Yeah, it feels weird.
That feels really weird.
Yeah.
Ew, that feels creepy. Like, I'm alive with those people.
Yeah.
We share the same air.
Hair?
Air.
Like air.
Like,
yeah.
We could have the same air molecules.
Oh, God, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so I knew that was a popular one, but you see the connection now. It's people accusing other people of being witches and deciding that they should die for that reason. And what's so crazy, especially about these two as a couple, is that there was no rhyme or reason when they would decide. You couldn't prepare yourself for something like that, you know?
Right. Ew.
Or you could just be like my mom and be completely paranoid about everybody and be like, they'll probably try and kill us. We should stay away from them, you know?
Hey, I got
that's the safest. Yeah, that's the safest way. I assume, like, I told you the other day we went on a walk in the forest, and like there were other people. We would pass them, and I would get so paranoid passing people. I didn't trust anybody.
Like, they're gonna turn around and start following us.
Yeah.
They double back and follow us. I should have checked out this route better.
Yeah. I should have like left some clues that I just pull my hair out and start leaving clues that I was here. That's crazy. Yay!
I like it. Good job.
Thanks.